This is the second of the 266 Bassmen that came in. Here's a bag of original parts that will be returned with the amp. I never want to be accused of selling old parts on eBay, etc., etc. And so, original irons, all good. It's got all new Tube Store Preferred Series tubes, 7025, 7025, 7025, and they're 6L6 GCs. The only exception is the phase inverter, which is a JAN Joint Army-Navy New Old Stock 12AT7. Those things are still available at a very good price, and they're great tubes. So like on the other one, hopefully you've seen that video as well. All new caps, all new resistors. I detailed that in the video on the other 66, and I've shown this process in depth on the Vibrolux Reverb video from a week or so ago. So let's go to the inside of the amp. Okay, I've redone the grounds directly to chassis, as I've discussed a lot. So the transformer mounting hardware is not being used for any of that. The heater center tap, I've floated and taped off and put in these heater balance resistors. Everything on the bias board has been rebuilt. The output sockets have been changed out, new ones, everything redone properly. 3 watt, 470 ohms there. This little bit of ugly heater wiring here, this had burned, and I did not trust it. And I've got some, I usually use some which is an exact match for this stuff. And my new batch of it, I was out, should be here today or tomorrow. So I'm going to replace this section with the stuff that looks just like the old. Just because this is kind of fugly. This is the stuff that a lot of places carry, and it's cloth on the outside, but plastic insulation on the inside, and the whole thing ends up being very bulky. It's really hard to work with, and it doesn't look right in an old Fender. The power supply is all redone to safety code, so neutral goes to one of the primaries on the power transformer, and the hot goes to this connection on the fuse, and then goes to the power switch, and then to the other primary. And the ground switch is unused, and no death cap is in place. Like on the other one, I changed it to the AA864 phase inverter. More details on that in the other 66 video. As detailed in the previous video on this amp, these wires were brought from underneath the board to on top to lower the noise floor, shielding throughout. Some other little things I mentioned in the other 66 apply here as well, like the shunt caps across these plates. Replaced switch, replaced volume pot. I'm sure the question everyone has who does amps or is interested in amps is what I've done here. Well, I've retained the stock bias balance. You can see the 220K here, and the 220K here, then a 10K and a 10K, and here's the bias balance pot. But I also gave it adjustable bias level, which just control in stock form. There's this resistor to ground right here. I put a pot in series with the limiting resistor, which lets me set the bias overall and then tweak the balance between tubes. In stock form, the old circuit bias is way too cold with modern wall voltages. This lets me bias some warmer. About 55% idle is my goal with these old Fenders. You can go 65 or so, but you know the factory was putting them out 45 to 55% idle. The whole must be at 70% is an internet myth as far as I'm concerned. And given that my wall voltage is at 125 right now and has been as low this morning as 112, it may vary in your area. If I were to bias this amp for 70% idle dissipation at 120 volts coming out of the wall, and then the voltage goes up to 127, 128, which it does here in Memphis at least, then those tubes will get nuked. If I bias them 50 to 55%, there's a lot of leeway. The wall voltage can go up, the tubes won't roast. The wall voltage can go down, the tubes won't be too cold. Pretty much the 30 to 70% operating range is safe. Whether there's an ideal point where you just find the tone perfect, You know, people chase their tails on a lot of these things. Unless you are in a studio situation or other place where you're going to have an absolutely regulated wall voltage and you know that it's always going to be 120 or always going to be 117 or always going to be 110 or always going to be 102.4, 112.4 because that's what you like the best. Unless that voltage out of the wall is always the same, you can't really play around with, this is where it must be biased. I find that Fenders sound good, about 53 to 55% idle dissipation. They sound a little bit different up towards 60. But at the end of the day, it's can you play? And I've got clients who sound better through Blues Juniors than I do through this 66 Bassman. So I think I sound pretty good through it, as you'll get to hear soon. All right, here's the bass channel. Deep switch engaged. Deep switch off. No popping. As I said in the other video on the other 66, a lot of people mod the bass channel on these amps to make it, quote, martially. It's possible. Most guys get it wrong. Most guys just end up with something with way too much gain and the wrong tone stack. In my opinion, the world has Marshalls in it. It does not have a lot of AB165s, which are behaving properly. So I think this is the better choice. Make it sound what it is, just the best possible example of what it can be. Not a bad guitar sound for the bass channel, and it still sounds fantastic for bass. So let's go into the normal channel. So that weird hum is gone. Try that again without messing up. So that click is gone on the bright switch, and the hum is gone out of this volume pot. The old volume pot was bad. And you'll get to hear it for real in a real playing video, but just a reminder, these things have got a ton of gain. But they also clean up and give you that great mid-60s Fender sound. This is very similar to the normal channel of a Pro Reverb or Twin Reverb without the mids pot. Just a very fantastic sounding, clean. It gets real dirty, but cleans up again. Pardon my playing, I'm not using a pick, and I just woke up and I've not had enough coffee. But anyway, you'll get to hear a real playing video of this amp very soon.